Hi, I'm Kevin Luxus, and today we're going to look at sharing your faith story with others, also known as sharing your witness or giving your testimony. Telling stories is part of everyday life. We tell people at work about a recent vacation, talk to a friend about what our child did the other day. We tell funny stories over dinner. Unless we're speaking in a group, we don't usually get too anxious about these casual encounters. But when it comes to sharing our faith story, most people shy away from telling about their encounter with Jesus. Why is that? One reason is that we don't know what to say. We think our story isn't dramatic enough. We're afraid of getting into an argument. We think evangelization is like selling something, and we don't like making a sales pitch. We're afraid we won't know the answer to the other person's questions. The problem with these and other excuses is that we're making evangelization out to be something that it isn't. To explain, let me share a story about when I was in medical school. I was married, had 3 children, and only 1 car, so I would take the bus every day to get to and from the hospital. The bus was usually crowded, so I often shared a seat with a stranger. I would strike up a conversation with my seatmate. At some point, the other person would tell me about something happening in their lives or maybe about a past event. I found that most of the time I could identify with their experience, and it was natural to relate to their experience by telling my own story. Since Jesus was so much a part of my life, it was easy to include his part in my story. Even with dozens of encounters, never once did someone become offended because I mentioned God. Why not? Because I wasn't preaching at them. I was only sharing my experience. I didn't get into arguments, have to sell Jesus, or discuss abstract theology. Most of the time, my stories were not amazing events. They were just common, everyday occurrences. That's what it means to share your faith story. So what kinds of things might we talk about? A story of conversion when we first came to know Jesus? Maybe a reversion story when we came back to the Catholic Church after a period of absence? Maybe a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. It could be a time when God gave you direction and showed you what path to take. When God helped you through a difficult time in your life. Or when the Holy Spirit prompted you to have a change in heart and mind. You may need to reflect on your life to recognize these God moments. It helps to think about what you will say ahead of time, because we're not used to talking about God. Like other stories, our faith story has a beginning, middle, and an end. In the beginning, we tell about how things were before God acted. In the middle part, we tell about what God did. And in the third part, we tell how things changed because of our encounter with God. When we tell our story, we should follow a few rules. A good way to remember these is to keep in mind the first 3 letters of the alphabet, A, B, and C. A stands for accurate. We need to be truthful, we don't embellish the facts, and we give enough detail so others can follow our story. B stands for brief. 5 to 10 minutes is usually plenty of time to tell your story. Spend most of your time telling what God did and not on the before and after situations. C stands for Christ-centered. Stay positive, avoid put-downs, explain what happened to you, but don't be afraid to tell what God did. There's a lot more I could say here, but I don't need to. Author and speaker Nancy Ward has written a book on this topic titled Sharing Your Catholic Faith Story. She gives great advice on how to discover, prepare, and deliver your faith story. In her book, she gives 5 tools for helping you to prepare your story. Then in the second part of her book, she includes personal stories from 30 Catholic disciples from all walks of life. You can find out how to get Nancy's book in either the Everyday Catholic Disciple bookstore or by clicking on this link. Jesus didn't just suggest to us that we tell our story. He commanded it. We don't only give witness to Christ in our actions, but we also give a witness of words. Make the effort to share about Christ in your life, and both you and others will be blessed.